Minute on Reverend Asiri Perera. Asiri Perera was born on the 11th January 1958 in Colombo. He was the second son of Reverend Theodore Henry Perera and Delicia Joyce Perera, who were serving at Gaul Circuit Kalahé Society at the time of his birth. Reverend Theodore H. Perera pioneered the divine healing ministry in the Methodist Church, Sri Lanka, and Mrs. Delicia Perera was an English-trained teacher. He had his primary education at Richmond College, Gaul, from 1963 to 1967. From 1968 to 1969 at Carey College, Colombo. In 1970, he studied at Sidua Methodist Junior School. From 1971 to 1974, he went back to Carey College, Colombo. Though he grew up in a Methodist mission house, he did not have any intention to become a minister, but he had an intention to become a medical doctor. In the year 1971 at Carey College, he came down in his science marks at the third term examination, and end results was in 1972 January he was placed in a combined arts and science class, which made him realize that he will not become a medical doctor. On the 7th January 1974, he walked into the new classroom feeling disappointed with himself. While seated in the class, he saw a clear blue sky through the window of the class and heard an inner voice saying, "I have closed the door that you chose for yourself. Now I surrender yourself to me and walk through a new door." And he will immediately felt a great peace within himself. On that night, he prayed together with his parents and surrendered himself to serve God. During the next 2 years of his schooling, he had a great opportunity to begin his work for God. His principal, Reverend Dr. W.G. Vikramasinghe, gave him an opportunity to share his testimony at college Thanksgiving service, and thereafter he was assigned to conduct chapel service on a roster basis. His real experience of forgiveness and salvation took place in the year 1966 at a revival meeting conducted by Reverend Dr. James Mather. Having got through his GCO level exam, he wanted to test his calling. He was invited by Reverend P.B. Rajasingham, then Superintendent Minister of the Moratumula Circuit, who appointed him as an honorary local worker of the Moratumula Circuit. He also worked under superintendency of Reverend Victor Salgado in the Moratumula Circuit, who guided and molded him very well. During the same period, he was involved in the Ministry of Healing and Devaswa Sevava, which was also an opportunity to test his calling. On 20th March 1977, he was accepted as a lay preacher of the Methodist Church. He entered the Theological College of Lanka, Pilimatalawa in July 1977 as a private candidate, as he was not sure whether he should serve the church or Devaswa Sevava. In 1981 April, he passed out from the Theological College with a BTH degree, Serampur, and applied to Methodist Church to serve at Devaswa Sevava as a Methodist minister in the healing ministry. He candidated through the Kandy Circuit quarterly meeting to be a ministerial candidate. The annual conference, which was held in 1981, accepted him as a minister on trial and was inducted at Katunayaka Methodist Church on the 13th of September 1981. During the probation period, he served at Dalupatha Society at the Kurana Nigambo Circuit under the superintendency of Reverend Victor Salgado, and Jatinuvara Vidya Society, the Kandy Circuit, under the superintendency of Reverend Dr. Kingsley Muthaiya. He gratefully remembers his two superintendent ministers, Reverend Victor Salgado, a fatherly figure who was a strict disciplinarian, and Reverend Dr. Kingsley Muthaiya, who became his mentor to mold him for the future leadership in the church. He was ordained on 8th November 1984 at Ravatavatha Methodist Church. In January 1985, he was released by the Methodist Conference to serve as a Methodist minister in the healing ministry at Kathiresapillai. He functioned there as a director of spiritual therapy. In 1989, May, he proceeded to New Zealand to do his clinical pastoral education, studies at the Auckland Public Hospital under the Presbyterian Support Services. He completed the first 2 units in New Zealand and switched over to the Royal North Hospital in Sydney and completed the advanced unit in clinical pastoral education. He obtained his membership in the College of Clinical Pastoral Education in New South Wales, Australia. On his return to Sri Lanka in March 1990, he was appointed by the Kathiresapillai Society as its president and minister in charge. In 1994, August, after several months of wrestling in prayer and faith, he, together with his wife Sharmila, decided to return to the Methodist Church and serve in the itinerant ministry. The President of the Methodist Church, late Reverend Dr. Kingsley Muthaiya, encouraged him, together with the former President Reverend Somasiri K. Perera, during this time. The Methodist Conference in 1994 accepted Reverend Asiri back to its itinerant ministry and was appointed to serve as Nugegoda Methodist Church as its first resident minister. In January 1966, he was stationed in Kulubitiya Society as its minister in charge, and thereafter he appointed as superintendent minister of Dehibala, Mount Lavinia Circuit. He guided the circuit to accept the redemarcation as the Mount Lavinia Maharagama Circuit in the midst of all lot of heartbreaks. When the new circuit was established, he voluntarily handed over the superintendency to a senior minister and continued to function as the minister of the Mount Lavinia Society. Circuits and institutions he travelled. Kuranigambo Circuit at Dalupata Society, 1981-1983. Kandy Circuit at Jatinura Vidya Society, 1984. Kathiresapillai, 1985-1994. Colombo South Circuit, 1995-1999. Nugegoda Society for 1 year, Kulubitiya Society for 4 years. Dehibala Mount Lavinia Circuit and its successor, Mount Lavinia Maharagama Circuit, and in Mount Lavinia Society, 2000 to 2004, superintendent for 2 years. Ampara Circuit external superintendent for 2003 to 2007. Colombo South Circuit, Velavata Chapel Lane Society, 2005 to 2009, superintendent for 1 year. Colombo North Circuit, Matakuliya, 2010 to 2014, superintendent all 5 years. Nuvarelia Circuit, external superintendent, 2011 to 2014. Kitulgala Yatyanthora external superintendent, 2010 to 2014. Maradana Kulubitiya Circuit, Kulubitiya Society, 2015, January to July, superintendent for 6 months. Offices held in the Methodist Church: Secretary for Faith and Order Committee, Assistant Secretary of Conference, Secretary of Central District Synod, 1999-2003, Chairman of the Central District, 2010 to 2014, President Bishop of the Methodist Conference, August 2015, August 2020. United Evangelical Mission involvement. Reverend Asiri currently served as an elected member of the Asia Regional Board and General Assembly. He was a resource person on the church's response to charismatic movement at the UEM seminars held in the Philippines and Karagwe Diocese of Evangelical Lutheran Church of Tanzania. Involvement in international forums. He was admitted to the life membership of the Order of St. Luke, the Physician in New Zealand, an ecumenical order for the healing ministry in 1989. He was invited by Irish Methodist Church to be a resource person in the overseas mission conferences and served together with Reverend Dr. Norman Taggart in the Coleraine Circuit from January to March 2000. He was invited by the Dortmund Church to participate and be a resource person at the 500th Jubilee celebrations of the Reformation in October 2017. Involvement in other Christian organizations. Chairman of the Board of International Needs Ministry, 1995, Lanka, 1995 to 2009. Chairman of the Theology College of Lanka Governing Board from 2018 to 2002. Involvement in national issues. He actively involved himself in ecumenical and interreligious forums for national peace and reconciliation. During his tenure as President Bishop, he became voice on the national issues pertaining to justice and peace issue. He actively participated in public demonstration for rights of the plantation workers, the fishing community affected by the construction of the Colombo Fort City, and for the rights of the families of the missing person. He was instrumental in gathering a few church leaders and talking to different political leaders to bring a settlement during the 52-day undemocratic government in October 2018. He publicly spoke and stood up for the rightful place of the Christians and people of other faiths in Sri Lanka that seeks to call itself a singular Buddhist country. After the blatant attack on the Anuradhapuram Methodist Center on Palm Sunday in April 2019, he gathered a large crowd of people on April 19, 2019, Good Friday from the Methodist churches. All Christian denominations, including the heads of the different denominations and people of other religions, for a silent public demonstration on the Gaul Road in front of the Kolupitiya Methodist Church. He openly voiced his opposition to rising of the cults and false prophets within the Christian church in Sri Lanka. Family. Reverend Asiri married Shamila Manomani Fernando, daughter of Ralph Srima Fernando of Panadura Methodist Church, on the 16th of May, 1981. Sharmila is a woman of prayer, seeking to give the best to God in her husband's ministry. Sharmila always added colors to Reverend Asiri's ministry with gifts of music and organizational ability. She set up the MCSL choir, bringing the talented people from different churches of MCSL to sing at the Methodist conference and other official gatherings. The amazing talents she organized at Methodist conferences brought members of her church distant areas to display their talents. Reverend Asiri and Sharmila have been immensely blessed with their children, Suhadini and her husband Robert, the two grandchildren, Ethan and Ellie, Samindra and his wife Inesha, who have weaved into the Reverend Asiri's ministry, especially using their gifts of music and singing. Reverend Asiri Perera is a strong disciplinarian who tries hard to maintain high ethical standard in the ministry. He is best known as the pastor who would be with the people in times of difficulties and sorrow. Reverend Asiri Perera is an eloquent preacher who uses homely illustration to engage his listeners and challenge. Reverend Asiri is an able administrator, very conscious in keeping to the principles of good governance and working with efficiency and good management. After his chairmanship of Central District, he was appointed as the president in the Methodist Church. As president, he tried to bring circuit institution under the church to act according to Methodist principles and practices. As president bishop, he displayed many strong qualities that benefited the church. During his tenure as president, he was personally instrumental, committed in making the clergy and lay members of the church as faithful, fruitful and courageous disciples of Jesus Christ. Towards the end, through the different departments of church, he organized retreats, seminars and workshops to strengthen the discipling task as commanded by the Lord Jesus Christ. Retirement. Reverend Asiri takes his retirement at the age of 62 plus. Under the optional age of retirement, he firmly believes that he should now step out of the administrative orbit of the church, decrease himself, allowing the younger generation to increase. He is focusing on facilitating clinical pastoral education during his retirement in a wider circle of churches and Christian institutions. We wish him a period of happy retirement and pray that God will continue to use his gifts to bring blessings and growth in the church.